First of all, the whole experience was amazing. Like, people were amazing. The food was amazing. Everything. I didn't have a bad experience there at all. Kuching, where we stayed, was incredible. It was such a livable city. I was actually saying to a lot of people that I could genuinely see myself living there. It was incredible. We were really nice by the water. Hotel we stayed at was amazing. I had a really nice roommate. It was really good also going people from other unis because we actually got to sort of see how other people teach. So a lot of people were like primary majors and everything, and I sort of got to see how they prepared for lessons. So the girl that I was with, I never really watched her teach. She was a maths teacher just because our schedules didn't really allow it, but she actually didn't really want me to come in because she got a bit nervous. But and she and like everyone else, it was good to see at the hotel. We'd sort of talk about what we were doing, how it went. It was cool to see sort of different schools and different facilities and whatnot. Um, so building from that, my school didn't have the best facilities. So I heard from other people that they had like an oval. I know Anthony had an oval. He had a lot of room. We had two basketball courts with a fence around it. The fence wasn't really doing that much, and the courts were a bit uneven and bumpy, and kids would play it with their bare feet, play soccer, and I just did not know how they did it. And we were in 30-degree heat and sweating, and I had to wear like really. I had to always had to wear tracksuits, which was pretty hard to get used to. And I also had to always like wear my polo, which is actually good. I actually came in um, having told that I had to wear a suit, so I wore a suit the first day, so shirt and tie, and they said don't worry about it. So the school wasn't as strict as I probably thought. Um, Thinking on the discipline side, it I don't know. I think that they expected perfection there, and if a kid sort of misbehaved, they would sort of not overreact, but it was just so out of the norm that I actually saw my mentor use the cane twice. So he'd actually walk around with his stick, sort of wave it around, showboating a bit. I think that it was like an intimidation thing that was weird there that the teachers, I think, feel like they have to be above the students for that discipline. I think it's the respect your elders, which is a cultural thing, which is just different to what I've experienced in Melbourne. Um, I saw him use it twice actually, and it was a bit shocking actually, and he sort of had to justify it to me by saying, "Oh, like, it sort of deserves." And I don't know that I didn't like that. So it did make me feel uncomfortable. But if the kids that were misbehaving was in a Melbourne class, it wouldn't really be anything because they like what I mean. Like the behavior was just so much better than you probably get here. The school was so like I said, the facilities weren't amazing. I didn't have a projector or anything like that. Technology, they didn't have technology. They had one projector actually, and I got to show them videos of AFL, which they loved. They absolutely loved it. It was incredible how much they soaked it in, and I showed them videos and highlights, and they just took it in and like it was just like they were like they'd never seen anything like that, never heard about it too, which is pretty understandable. The staff were amazing, and the students were amazing. I actually was saying that I felt like a rock star when I was over there. It was amazing. I felt like I was always like I would walk through the school, and everyone would sort of bow their head. I actually had it. Sorry, pardon me. I actually had a couple of students grab my hand and sort of put it up to their forehead, which is like a respect sign in Muslim culture, which that was like that was incredible. Um, and yeah, I'd walk through and they'd sort of be like, "Oh, hi, hey, teacher, good afternoon, teacher, how are you?" And I'd sort of everywhere. There was 500 kids. I'd walk from the PE, like where the courts were, to my office, and it was just hello, hey, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is," it was unbelievable. Um, I actually spoke at assembly one time, and I've got the video I can actually show you, and they were going crazy. Like I was just like, and it was very, very, very surreal. Um, speaking back on the students, whenever you walk into a classroom, um, they either say if it's if it's an Indonesian Indonesian if it's a Malaysian class, they'll stand up when the teacher walks in. So one person from the class will be appointed as like the speaker or something. And sorry about that. And they would speak about and they would sort of they would say stand up class, and then if it was in Malaysian, they would say Selamat pagi cikgu, which is good morning teacher, and then they would say standing up until someone told them to sit down, until the teacher told them to sit down. So when I walked in, they'd say good morning teacher, and it was kind of like in unison and whatnot. And I remember when I was teaching my first English class, I just was so taken back by, even though I'd seen it happen because I'd observed when I was teaching, I started talking and they were all still standing up, and I was kind of like, what are you doing? And then I thought, oh, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, like, come on. And yeah, and their attention was just always on me. I felt like they were glued, and I feel like being a white teacher in there, they'd never had that. One of the students actually came up to me and said, "You're the first white teacher white person I've ever seen, I've had interacted with." And I was like, "Oh wow, it's incredible." And it was kind of weird how I was sort of like glorified for my skin color, I guess. But yeah, that was just so different. So going back to the first day, it was very disorganized. They only found out on the Friday we were coming, and it was the Monday. Um, I sort of just sat in the office by myself, and I had a really crappy day. And I was like, I hope I haven't flown, 8 hours to come here and sit in the office and whatnot. I was kind of disappointed. My mentor didn't really help, and I'll sort of speak about that later. And the next day, I was like, at the end of that day, actually, I was like, you know what? I was only teaching 6, 7 hours. The requirement was 6 to 8. I was like, nah, I don't want to do this. So I went in and I said, I want to teach English. I want to teach something else, because their PE theory is in Malaysian. So the contents in Malaysian, some classes I could have gone in English and taught in English, which I did because some were better English speaking classes. But some classes would just look at me like I was speaking another language, because I actually, they just didn't understand me. And that was different. So then I said, I'm happy to take more classes. I took more PE classes. I took an English class, which again I'll speak about later. And I think that really showed when I look at the other girl that I was with. She was from Latrobe, I think. She was third year, doing maths and stuff, and she was sort of saying how she wouldn't really take things on board. She wouldn't really go out and sort of like, she didn't take that many classes on board. And I was out there and I was like, give me more, give me more. I want to teach. I want to teach. If you want to observe, come observe my class, whatnot. And she was sort of like, oh, I'm a bit nervous. And I think it really showed how confident I've become as a teacher, that I was happy to. I'm not an English teacher. I've never taught English before. And I was actually shocked when I went into their first English class that I was taking, and they were talking not perfect English, they were talking amazing English, and they were reading an article and sort of talking about the author's contention and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, I felt I was like, crap, have I gotten over my head a bit? It's not teaching them words, it's teaching them how to understand the English language. And I thought, wow, so I did a lot of research. I did a lot of homework research and stuff like that. And again, I'll speak about English more later on, but I think I was just saying that because it was amazing to see how I sort of went out and I was thinking, you know what, I'm here for 3 weeks. I'm going to grab every opportunity that I can. And I'm quite proud of myself for doing that. It was also amazing to see. I personally have always wanted to teach overseas. That's where I probably see myself next year, teaching overseas. It was honestly amazing. Um, so if I speak about PE, it was very disorganized. My teacher, Brahim, my mentor, he was a very nice person. Do not get me wrong. But I remember when I was going to it was my first class. He was showing me the facilities, which was, pardon, sorry, which was their storeroom was a little room with three balls, three soccer balls, three basketballs. They weren't pumped up. They were pretty run out, had eggs on them and whatnot. And next door was a room with a couch, and he said to me, "If you get tired, you can come here and go for a sleep." And I was kind of like, "It's 9 o'clock. I've been here for 2 hours, and he's already talking to me about sleeping." And I was kind of got a bad vibe from him. Um, Students, like, he would go, and I would sometimes be teaching, and he would go for a little nap, which probably shouldn't be doing because he had to be watching me the whole time. He'd sort of be watching from the room, and I'd sometimes, you know what I mean? He was, I wouldn't really see him around because when he wasn't teaching, he'd be sleeping. Granted, he did work two jobs. He told me that he was a Grab driver, which is their Uber, which, good on him for sort of doing that, but it was kind of showed me how, I don't want to say lazy because I think that's a bit extreme, but I would say probably laid back they are in that regard. Um, he never really knew what he was teaching, so he would just sort of say, I'd say, "What are you doing today?" Say, "I don't know. I'm gonna work it out on the walk there." And I was, okay. Um, yeah. So I'm just sort of reading what I was doing. Students told me that they felt the PE was pointless, and they often said that they felt like it was a free subject, which really made me sad to see. So yeah. So and when I actually went out, I think we went out to a bar, met a couple of people from Malaysia and who lived in Kuching, and I told them I was teaching PE, which is PJK, that's what they call it, and they kind of laughed, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. They basically said that PE PJK is a nothing subject for them. It's the teachers aren't qualified, they don't care and stuff like that, and that did make me bummed out because when I did AFL for 3 weeks essentially. They loved it. I had all eyes on me. They were just sucking it all in, and they enjoyed competition. They didn't have that, him like us against them. Let's do a team, let's do a class game or anything. It was just all, here's two balls, here's the basketball court. Go, have fun for the next hour, play soccer. That's all they did, and they were pretty good. Don't get me wrong at soccer. One of the students, Mary, who I'll actually speak about in a sec, she told me that she enjoyed being able to show off her athletic abilities in the class because she'd never been able to do it before because they'd never played a class game before, which was, yeah, incredible. Speaking on Mary, actually, she was a school captain, um, and she was probably my favorite student. You can't really have favorites, but I probably did. And she said to me that she one time in the first assembly, she said she was when I spoke to her later, she said she was nervous because we were there, but she told everyone to stand up when they hadn't, like, when, so she was doing the assembly. She said, "Stand up, like, you can go now," and half the assembly stood up, and then the other teacher was like, "No, no, no, we've still got more to go." And some of the students were like, "Boo," complained, and Mary started crying, and I was just thinking, wow, like, she was so embarrassed that she'd embarrassed herself. To about, we spoke about maintaining face. She was so embarrassed that she'd been publicly embarrassed that she just started crying and got really upset, and I just felt terrible seeing that. And later on, I sort of spoke to her, and she said, "I was embarrassed, in front of you guys and the staff and the students. I feel like I let myself down." She kept apologizing to me for a couple of days. She'd be like, "I'm so sorry about the other day." And I was like, "Mary, relax, relax. You're doing fine." Speaking on her, like I said, she was probably one of my favorite students. I had this one class who they had all their subjects were essentially in English, so they were amazing English speaking. One of them loved Australian culture, so he'd come up to me and talk in an Aussie accent and say, like, "Good day, mate," and his slang was better than mine. Chuck another shrimp on the barbie and say stuff like that, and that was really nice to see. And I taught them on the Wednesday, and on the Friday for our last day, 10 of them from my favourite class had organised, and they were probably my favourite, the ones that I actually got close to. I spoke to you know, I actually still keep in touch with. I gave them my email. They still talk to me, ask me about school. They're so fascinated to learn about that. It's one thing I learned over there is they're so eager to learn, and you come to Australian schools, and I'm at Viewbank right now. It's kind of oh, we've got PE. I've got a class of girls, year 8 girls, that it is like I'm just banging my head against the wall trying to get them motivated to do sport, and I think it's so annoying to see how ungrateful we are for the education that we get. And when you go over there, everything I said, they soaked up. They were so excited to learn and stuff like that. And like I said, it was amazing to see that sort of stuff. Um, so going back on, so they offered to take us out, and it was Mary's idea. She said the week before, we're going to take you out for lunch, and I said, yeah, cool, absolutely. Looking forward to it. There was a group of about 8 or 10 of them that we were going to get grabs there, we were going to get ice cream after. I was really looking forward to it. And Mary came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it on Friday." She seemed really upset, and she's normally a happy, bubbly kid. And she said to me, "Oh, um, I'm not going to be able to come because I've got a flight to catch." And I sort of thought, a flight to catch 2 days later, maybe it was the day before, I think it was the Thursday actually, and we were going on the Friday. I was sort of like, okay. She just seemed really upset for the whole rest of the lesson. Normally she's bubbly, she's excited. So I said to her, come help me put the footies away. Everyone else went to class, and I spoke to her, and I said, Mary, what's wrong? You look really upset. And she just broke down crying. And I was so taken back, and I said to her, what's wrong? She said, just feeling a lot of pressure from everyone. It's hard being one of the smarter kids, because she's, I think, in the accelerated class. She's school captain. She's like, seen, and like it is that maintaining faith. She just has to be seen to be, the top of everything. She can't be seen doing anything wrong. She broke down, and it was really, really, it was upsetting. The mate got me upset, and just to see that, and she told me that she'd kind of got some bullying from one of the other girls. Naomi had said to her, who I really liked, Naomi, who said, she can't. She said to Mary, even though Mary organised, she's like, you can't come because there's other problems in their classroom, and it's because of Mary. And they were bickering back and forth. And I said to Mary, like, I want you there. She said to me, I was like, I want you there. How can we resolve this? She said, I just, I'm not. Me and Naomi pretend to be friends, but not really friends. There's a lot of back talking that goes on. I said, okay, let's try to solve this. I spoke to Naomi, and I said, Naomi, what's wrong? Why is Mary not coming? She said, oh, she made up an excuse. Oh, we can't get enough grabs. If she comes, there'll be an extra grab. And I said to her, look, don't lie to me. I know what's going on. What's happening? She said, there's bickering going on between Mary and one of the other girls. And if Mary comes, couldn't we ruin the whole day and stuff? And I said, you guys need to sort this out. So I spoke to Naomi. I said, would you like me to, mediate a meeting with you two? And, I spoke to Naomi for 5-10 minutes. And she said, look, I said, you guys are in the same class, because they do the same class from all, they don't change classes. She said to me, and I said, you guys got to be friends. And she said, yeah, you're right. And then, she said, I said, would you like me to mediate a meeting? She said, no, I'll go speak to her. And I thought, okay, I wonder how this will go. And then after school, actually, 2 hours later, they came up to me, and they both gave me a big hug, and they were laughing together, and they said, thank you so much. Naomi came and spoke to me. We got all our problems out, and now we, in that class, we sort of went out. They went to the counsellors in 2 hours. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And they'd fixed everything. Their class drama actually got fixed, and I say this because it was unreal, not only that I somehow, after 2.5 weeks of knowing this Mary girl, was the only person that she was comfortable in speaking of. And I think this shows how in that culture they really have to be strong all the time. They have to keep things in, and it was really, really, really sad to see. Then she, sorry, I've just lost my train of thought, and it was sad to see, yeah, like, and that I had to sort of do counselling work for them. But then it was amazing to see how quickly they turned around, and how they were all happy. We went out for lunch together, and they, it was so much fun. Mary actually, it was actually quite sad when I left, I gave them all a big hug. And when I was hugging Mary, she started crying. She said, "Thank you so much for knowing, for listening and knowing I was upset when when no one else did." She actually wrote me a message saying the same thing, and it was really nice. And actually, I surprised her with a gift. I didn't really give any of the students a gift, but I did her. 'Cause she sounded like she was going through a tough time, and I said I would give her a note, sorry, a photo of me and her that we got. I printed out and wrote on the back, never take life too seriously. You're relax, take a deep breath. You're an amazing person, and it just felt weird that I was sort of like someone she could feel comfortable confiding in, and I was so humbled by it. But it was just, I don't know, it just kind of showed how they have to maintain that face, and I know that we spoke about that. Yeah, so that's that, and it was amazing. I still actually get some emails from them and talk about it, and it's amazing. Um, the health content itself wasn't we didn't do any nutrition and physical activity, and didn't really speak on that, but it did have emotions and like a sex ed aspect, which was I was actually quite sort of shocked to see that. Um, but then it was sad to see that my teacher, we were doing, they had, he split the class into four groups. So one class did male characteristics that change through hormones, so physical characteristics and emotional characteristics. Then it was female emotional, emotional characteristics and physical characteristics. Sort of thought your emotions don't really change that much after, you obviously become more emotional because your hormones and everything. But he was saying, the changes that men should go after puberty were things like, responsibility and being strong and being, and it seemed like it was pushing really old fashioned agendas. Male has to be the breadwinner, female has to stay home. And then they were taught to talk about the emotional characteristics, and he would sort of say things like they would, you know, get emotional, they get upset easily, they're not the breadwinner, they stay home, they should be caring and take care of the families. And it was crappy to see, because I saw a lot of women being empowered, and I was so happy to see all these women in education. They were so willing to learn, and and then to see that, I was like, I actually confronted him after. I said, we would never teach that in Australia. What's with that? And he said, Malaysian men are becoming less responsible, and they're not taking care of their families as well as they used to be. So we're trying to teach them responsibility because they're the breadwinner. I kind of didn't want to, step too far out of line, but that did hurt to see, just to see how, sort of far back we've gone. But I then moved to English. English was my favorite class to teach. I would look forward to teaching English all the time. It was amazing. Like I said, so when I got there, my teacher, Madam she was amazing. She was a really, really, really good teacher. She used a lot of modern techniques that I hadn't actually seen. Things like she would have a cup, a two-sided cup. One was red, one was no, sorry. She had traffic lights. She had like cards, so it was red, yellow, green. And kids would, when they understood what they were doing, they would put a green card up. So she knew, okay, this kid understands what he's doing. When they were a little bit confused, they'd put a yellow card up. And when they did not know what was going on, they'd put the red card up. So she then knew who understood what. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. This is really good. She also did things like when she wanted someone to read, she had a popsicle stick, like an ice cream stick, with everybody's name on it, and she'd pull it out, and that student would read. And so I just wanted to make sure we're still recording. And yeah, that was incredible to see her do that. And I sort of was like, oh, this is really good. But then they sort of were taught that we're the teacher. This is what the right answer is. Here is the answer. If you're here, 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 and here, you're wrong. If you're in here, you're right. I thought, I didn't like that. I really didn't like that. So I went in there and I wanted to do a lot of writing. They hadn't done much essay writing, much creative writing. So I firstly got them in and I wrote up a page about me. I said, this is what I like to do, this is my family, now you write something about your family and compare your family to my family. And I gave an example, and from mine, they would sort of copy it a bit. Again, they struggled to think outside the box. This is only week one, though. They would sort of say, um, Mr. Teacher Liam, which is what they call me, or Sir Liam, has a brother and sister. So do I. And they didn't really think outside the box. I thought, okay, how do I do this? Then I got them getting their opinion on Vegemite. I gave them Vegemite. They had to write their opinion on it. A lot of it was similar, salty taste. They didn't really like it. One girl actually had to go to the toilet because she felt really sick. So I hope she didn't throw up. And then they would speak about what they did, my brain's getting a bit. And they would speak about their favorite food, and that was good because it got them thinking, got them, okay, what's my favorite food? Then what I did was I've got it here. I made a little book for them. What I wanted to do was I wanted to do creative writing that wouldn't get the same thing, because what I was seeing was they would sort of copy the people next to them. They would think a bit, but they wouldn't really, they didn't really get them. It wasn't 100% their idea. So what I did was I got characters, locations, and a plot, and every kid got a dice. So they rolled the dice first, and I didn't tell them what we had to do. They would write their numbers down, and then each dice number, so I'll just read it here, each dice number was a different character, a different location, and a different plot. So for instance, a character, if they rolled a 2, was Upin and Ipin, which is Malaysia. I did some research. It's a Malaysian TV show, like kids TV show. Location would be a haunted house. If they rolled a 4, for instance, they rolled a 6, a person has gone missing. So then they would have to write a story using Upin and Ipin as the main character in a haunted house, and a person has gone missing, and they would have to come up with the idea. And it was incredible to see some of the ideas. Like I said, this is the book that I made. I got a photo, so that's the class I had. It was 33 kids. Mainly, it was half Muslim, half Chinese. So the school I was at was a Chinese Malay school. So there was there was a lot more of a Chinese population than usual. And, I got some amazing, this girl at the front wrote me like 4 pages. Their stories were cool. They really thought outside the box. I had one student, his name was Yusri, and the Madam Code, my teacher, said that he just sits there, he's not interested, he doesn't do much. As soon as I came, he was one of my best students. And she said to me at the end, because he was so creative, his stories he was coming up with, said, pardon me, where did you come with, how did you get this idea? Like, I couldn't even think of that. His imagination was incredible. She just said she had never done creative stuff like that before. It was always, this is it, I'm talking, you're listening, right. And then, it was amazing to see. Like I said, he became one of my favorite students. He wrote me an amazing letter. They all wrote me an amazing letter at the end. And it was, I really just grew fond of this class, and it was amazing. She said to me, I'm going to start using more creative stuff at the end. She said, thank you, I've learned a lot from you. I've learned, I need to use more creative stuff, because that's how some of these kids learn. And it was amazing to see that. Like I said, this is actually, if you can see that, these are some of the classes I taught. I got amazing photos with them. Like I said, I had an amazing time. If I sort of compare Malaysian schools to, like I said before, they're just so humble and they want to learn. And then I come to Viewbank, like I said before, I've just got kids who aren't really that keen on learning. I think I've been talking 30 minutes for way too long. Sorry, I got a bit carried away. Like I said, I honestly could not have asked for a better opportunity. It was incredible. I got more out of it than I could have hoped for. I actually wanted to go back and work at this school. Like I was speaking to you before, I wanted to go back and work at this school. Um, and they said, yeah, sure, we'll have you. And I was like, this is incredible. This is exactly what I want. I want to work overseas next year. I want to teach in a school like this. I want to do something. Um, and they said, I said, yeah. And then I spoke to someone from the Department of Education who she came out on the last day. And she said, sorry, I said to her, I was like, oh, mate, yeah, I'd love to, hopefully I'll come back next year and I'll see you. And she said, oh, you can't actually work here. It's only Malaysian teachers. So Malaysian teachers can teach in a public school. Um, I could teach in a private school or an international school, but I really want to help. I really want to work with kids that want to learn. And yeah, I'm not saying that private kids don't, but I really like the public school. That was so grateful. They just soaked everything up, and that's what I want to do again. So you never know. Hopefully, I'll do that again. I actually emailed we went and visited the teachers' college there, and they were all in shock when they saw us. Like I said, rock stars again, and they were all aspiring teachers, and they had a big PE cohort. And I said to them, I actually got her email today, and just emailed her and said, I'd love to come and work with you. I would love to come next year and teach if you'll have me. Teach, help build the PE education there, and it's a big teachers college. It was hundreds of students of student teachers living on campus, um, and yeah, so I hopefully that works out. Like I said, it'll be hard for it to work out, but yeah, that would be a dream come true. Teaching overseas and teaching in a teachers college, teaching PE. Like I said, 32 minutes. I was not expecting that. I really would like to thank you for the opportunity. Like I said, I couldn't ask for it more. And I'm sorry for talking for so long. I was trying to. I actually made a script that went for about 10 minutes, but I sort of went a bit off topic. Hope you're having a good time, and everything's good on your end, and hopefully you enjoy this, and hopefully I'll see you around. Thanks, Jason.